Oh, that's the wrong light. Awesome. Speakers in it. I know. They have a marker if we want to do the I fight for, and we could write something on it. I have a marker. I just don't know if the brand team would be cool.
I know. I'm like the brand team's gonna be like, what is that?
Yeah.
I have a I fight for men.
But also we do fight for them.
Yeah.
The Medicaid ones are also right there.
Yeah. Get one of those. Should I write a board?
These are available too. Not claimed.
Yeah, I went too far.
Oh, my glasses. I can see perfect. I can see how I'm happy for you. Okay, the color theory. It's that serious. Just go like this. Hopefully the mics don't pick it up. Yeah, I think we've gotten a few pictures so far, but it's not even I didn't really look at Celia's email very carefully when, so I was like, oh, I don't know what room it is, so I have to pull it out real quick. Yeah, it was intimidating. Well, I'm over here. I put the email to the clients probably specifics, so I didn't really think about it. Yeah, exactly. The bungalow. We're really analyzing these posters.
I know, yeah.
The posters are being analyzed.
You know what? I'm glad they're being used.
Right, because yeah.
Like, you told me when I showed you the hats are on that
I was gonna bring a hat, but Celia didn't someone to bring a hat, so this is so that was very exciting.
No hats.
I would have brought a hat, but I didn't. It feels kind of random to have a hat. It was kind of random. I would have. I'm not really liking my hair today.
It's the humidity is great for anyone. I have one too.
I really don't know where those are. Yes, like, I don't know how long I'm doing this for. decorating my house and walls. Just like gold everywhere. I do like the mold. I would do it. Yeah. Like white. I would do it white. I did not realize it was something. Yeah, me too. Yeah.
We have an arch in my living room. Everyone always says that they like it. And that I rent, but not on my house.
It's so true though. We do be loving it. I left that here, so I didn't want to read it. I thought of putting one like in oh yeah. I don't have any.
Yeah. That was what made me rent our house. Like I saw that arch. I love it.
Just being nice. Well, good morning. And yeah, come on up here, Tammy. Well, you know, there is a lot to be mad about in the Republicans' big, ugly betrayal bill. And I want to make sure one hugely important issue does not get missed, because I've come to know by now there is not a day that ends in Y where Republicans are not trying to ban abortion here in Congress. Republicans just can't help themselves. If they can find a way to attack abortion care, they do it. And when you know it, they snuck what essentially amounts to a backdoor abortion ban into the health provisions of this big, ugly betrayal. That's right. Not only does the Republican monstrosity of a bill make health care more expensive and harder to get, they are also trying to stop health plans from covering abortion altogether. This bill would effectively ban health insurance on the ACA marketplaces from covering abortion. This would send a shockwave through the country and put abortion care out of reach for women. It would be a nightmare for states like mine that require plans to cover abortion, and it would be yet another blow for women across the country. As abortion access gets pushed further and further out of reach by right-wing politicians who think they should get to make deeply personal decisions about women's health and their lives. And the attacks don't stop there, because Republicans want to shut the doors of one of the biggest health care providers in our country. They want to defund Planned Parenthood. That is wildly unpopular with the American people, and it is widely dangerous for patients who turn to Planned Parenthood for a very wide spectrum of care, including cancer screenings and pap smears and birth control. And if it were successful, Republicans would be closing the doors to 200 health centers, and that includes cutting the number of Planned Parenthood health centers in states with abortion access by half, and stripping away people's access to abortion and other reproductive health care. It is hard to understand how devastating that would be. We are talking clinics shuttering across the country, overwhelmingly in states where abortion is legal. We are talking women left with no options for the care that they need. It doesn't matter if you are a rape survivor, or if you have a medical emergency, or if you simply don't want to become a parent. Whatever your reason, whatever state you are in, if Republicans get their way, abortion care will be a lot more expensive and a lot less accessible. For some patients, it will be simply impossible to get the care they need, regardless of how badly they need it. We have already seen, with painful clarity, how dangerous abortion bans can be for patients. We've already seen patients pushed to the brink and even killed because they could not get the care they needed. And now Republicans are about to mark the anniversary of the Dobbs decision by taking their extremism to new heights. We are not going to be silent about this big, ugly betrayal, including what it means for reproductive rights. We're not going to be silent about Republicans' backdoor efforts to ban abortion nationwide. And we're not going to stop pushing back to make sure this bill goes nowhere except the garbage bin.
Thank you, Senator Murray, who has been such a great leader on this issue, as well as Senator Baldwin. I'm proud to be joined by them and our guests from Planned Parenthood and the Guttmacher Institute. Okay. We're here today to decry the backdoor abortion ban that Republicans have put in to their reconciliation bill, to their appropriations reconciliation bill. We're going to fight it with everything we have. It is wildly unpopular with the American people. Just you look at every corner of America, and Americans want to preserve a woman's right to choose. The Dobbs case reversed that. The Supreme Court, stacked by hard right ideologues, undid the decision undid abortion rights in the awful Dobbs case, reversing Roe. 3 years later, 21 states following through have significantly restricted the right to choose. 14 have total abortion bans. But that's not good enough for our Republican colleagues. They want every state to have a ban. And what they do is they make abortion inaccessible to so many millions of women who want them. In states like Texas, maternal mortality is spiking. Since Dobbs, 1 in 5 people have to travel great distances across state lines and wait weeks just to get care. And just think about it. A woman, it's a difficult decision for women, many women. And then to make them travel and be alone and find a hotel room and then go to a clinic that they're not even familiar with under these traumatic circumstances, that alone is cruel enough. But these fanatics, these anti-choice fanatics, will stop at nothing. And when we hear these horrible statistics and what's happening, what's the reaction of Senate Republicans? They double down. They want to double their efforts on their crusade against women's health care and their right to choose. Right now, as we speak, Republicans are trying to jam through one of the most extreme radical provisions deep in this big, ugly betrayal. 2 nasty provisions. One was in the House. Now they've added another one to defund Planned Parenthood and eliminate coverage for comprehensive reproductive care from the marketplace, the ACA marketplace, adding tens of millions more women who will not have access to the right to choose. Under the Republican bill, 200 Planned Parenthood centers would close. More than 90% of these closures would be in states where abortion is legal, where the voters of the state, the people of the state, have decided they want to keep the right to choose for women. So don't let Republicans try to tell you this is about states' rights. That's not what they're trying to do. This is a national bill. If they believed in state rights, they'd have no provisions, neither of these provisions in the bill. In all, under these awful provisions, 1 in 4 abortion providers nationwide would be eliminated. 1 in 4. And on ACA coverage, Republicans are trying to prevent tens of millions of Americans who get health coverage from their state marketplace from being able to access abortion. This is not alone what's bad in the bill. The Medicaid cuts are even worse. You couldn't think the House bill, you couldn't think the Senate could do worse than the House when it came to Medicaid, but they sure did. It means Republicans are looking to rip away health care from millions more Americans. The callousness doesn't stop there. They're also fighting to take Americans' rights away in terms of reproductive rights. So let's make no mistake about it. This is a backdoor abortion ban snuck into the bill by the Republican senators because they, unlike their constituencies, are vehemently anti-choice. Well, right now, Senate Democrats will fight these devastating and deadly measures with everything we got, everything, including the bird bath. One of these provisions might well be susceptible to the bird bath. We don't know, but we're certainly going to make the argument against both provisions. And they both might be susceptible, one a little more than the other. But the Senate Democrats, we stand together. We fight back against Republicans every step of the way. And because, as Abe Lincoln said, public sentiment is everything, and public sentiment is completely on our side, we will win this fight. We will never stop fighting till we do. Tammy Baldwin.
Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. Good morning, and I want to start and take a moment to reflect on the events over the weekend. The senseless, abhorrent, cowardly events in Minnesota hit very close to home for my constituents who are grieving alongside our Midwestern neighbors. And sadly, for those from Planned Parenthood and the reproductive rights community, too. My heart goes out to the victims, those grieving, those fighting for their lives, and those who are scared, and anyone who's impacted by this tragedy. We are lucky for the law enforcement who put their lives on the line to apprehend the suspect and prevent further heartbreak. This kind of political violence is simply unacceptable, and it is not who we are as a country. And we must come together to condemn this kind of hate wherever it exists and remind ourselves that we are better than this. I am honored to join my colleagues and reproductive rights leaders to spotlight yet another way this Republican budget bill will take away health care from Americans and gut their right to choose. Planned Parenthood is truly a saving grace for so many in my state and across the country. For Americans, Planned Parenthood clinics, for some of them, they're the only option they have for affordable health care, for basic reproductive care, to life-saving cancer screenings. It's also often the only place women can get abortion care and control their own bodies and their own futures. In a state like Wisconsin, where we lived through 15 months with no access to abortion care because of a law passed in 1849. Today, there are just a few Planned Parenthood clinics providing abortion services in 3 counties, which means 69 counties in Wisconsin have no access. If these Planned Parenthood clinics were to close, women in my state could be left again with no other option than to leave the state just to get the care that they need. If these clinics close, Republicans would be further widening health care deserts in rural Wisconsin, making more of our friends, neighbors, and colleagues delay or forego care because they can't afford it or they can't take the time off work or find childcare to drive hours to see a doctor. But as we all know, Planned Parenthood and places that offer reproductive care are our Republican colleagues' favorite target. They make Planned Parenthood a punchline to their jokes and a subject line to their fundraising emails. What they neglect to admit is it's a lifeline for our constituents. This bill says that the mother of three, the young woman trying to make ends meet, the veteran in need of care, and anyone else on Medicaid can't use their coverage at Planned Parenthood for annual checkups, cancer screenings, or birth control. We're not just talking about abortion. We're talking about basic health care that everyone needs and that my Republican colleagues say they support. But by doing this, they are one step closer to their North Star, a national abortion ban. So it seems they're okay with these devastating consequences. Even worse, it is also in service of finding every dollar that they can to pay for their scheme to rig the tax code for big corporations and their wealthy friends. The more I think about it, I'm struck by the idea that this provision so perfectly captures what this Republican Party has come to stand for. To tilt the tax code in favor of the rich and huge corporations at all costs, and to take away a woman's right to choose. We're not going silently into the night. At the ballot box, in poll after poll, and what I hear as I travel the state is that women want their right to choose. They want their fundamental freedoms back. They want affordable health care. They want more affordable health care options. This Republican bill would do just the opposite, jacking up health care costs, limiting affordable options, and taking away more women's rights to control their own bodies. It's wrong. It's not what Americans want, and we're going to fight it. Thank you.
Okay. Our next speaker is Alexis McGill Johnson. She's the president and CEO of Planned Parenthood and has done a great, great job.
Thank you, Leader Schumer. Thank you, Senator Murray. Thank you, Senator Baldwin, for being such fierce champions today. We are here because Republicans want to use their big, bad betrayal of a reconciliation bill to make it even harder to get an abortion in the United States. And they are willing to harm patients across the country to do it. Let me explain. Last month, House Republicans voted to defund Planned Parenthood health centers. And in the coming days, it is very possible the Senate could do the same. If President Trump signs this into law, the consequences would be catastrophic. Nearly 200 Planned Parenthood health centers could close. More than 1.1 million patients could lose access to care, birth control, wellness visits, STI tests, cancer screenings, and more. More than 50% of the health centers at risk of closure are in states, as they've said, where abortion is still legal. These closures could eliminate 1 in 4 abortion providers nationwide. Let's call defunding Planned Parenthood what it is, a backdoor abortion ban. The harm doesn't stop there. They've also snuck a provision that would bar ACA marketplace plans that would include abortion coverage from receiving federal subsidies. That means that people won't be able to use the health insurance they pay to get the care they need. Our opponents keep saying their goal is only to avoid subsidizing abortion care. But the truth is, federal dollars already don't cover abortion care, except in some very specific, very rare circumstances. So when you look at the whole picture, it really comes into focus. Their real goal is to make it harder for everyone to get an abortion. No one wants this to happen, and there's still time to stop this bill. We are asking the 19 million Planned Parenthood supporters and the majority of people in this country who want abortion to be legal to stand up and make their voices heard. Call and email your members of Congress and ask them to oppose this bill. Let's keep marching and shouting and rallying, because I know together we can defeat this outrageous attack.
Thank you, Alexis. Now we have Amy, who's Director of Federal Policy from the Guttmacher Institute. Amy Ferdak Karnick. She'll spell it for you.
Hello. My name is Amy Friedrich-Harnick, and I thank Senator Schumer for having us here today. The Guttmacher Institute is a nonpartisan research and policy organization dedicated to advancing reproductive health access for all people. It is clear that this reconciliation bill could have sweeping consequences for the national landscape of reproductive health care access, serving as a backdoor abortion ban. All types of sexual and reproductive health care are inextricably linked. So when restrictive policies are aimed at one form of reproductive health care, or they target a provider like Planned Parenthood, our research shows that the implications are broad and have a ripple effect. By attempting to exclude Planned Parenthood health centers from federal funding streams, this bill would make abortion care even more inaccessible. As you heard, it puts 200 Planned Parenthood clinics, the majority of which provide abortion care, at risk of shutting their doors. The landscape of abortion access is already incredibly fractured. 13 states are currently enforcing total abortion bans, and many others have severe restrictions, and many clinics have already been forced to close since Dobbs. And for the over 1 million people who obtained clinician-provided abortion care last year, our data demonstrate that approximately 155,000 of them crossed state lines to access this care in 2024. Closing even one clinic can impact access to care in a community, and for patients who are forced to travel. And the scale at which this reconciliation package threatens to decimate access to abortion care by discriminating against Planned Parenthood would be devastating for patients and communities around the country. It's a backdoor abortion ban. Furthermore, by excluding Planned Parenthood from federal funding streams, the entire ecosystem of family planning clinics would be impacted. Guttmacher research has demonstrated that federally qualified health centers, or FQHCs, and health departments would not be able to absorb the patients that would be in need of contraceptive care if the defund provision became law. For example, FQHCs would need to increase capacity by 56% or see an additional 1 million contraception patients. And all of that is before we get to the other provision in the bill that seeks to bar coverage of abortion care under private plans in the ACA marketplace. Abortion coverage on both public and private insurance plans is already severely limited and difficult to access. And this provision seeks to further restrict this coverage. Not only could it eliminate abortion coverage for individuals insured through the marketplace, but it could result in private insurers eliminating abortion coverage for all beneficiaries in order to avoid the burden of maintaining separate plan options. We urge senators to see this bill for what it is, a thinly veiled attempt to restrict reproductive freedom, and to oppose it. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Okay, we'll take questions. Yes.
So for the Senate GOP proposal, it includes requirements, Medicaid work requirements for able-bodied adults and those with children that are over 14 years old, but should be working or seeking employment or volunteering or in school for 20 hours a week. What is your position on Medicaid work requirements, and do able-bodied adults need to be working or looking for employment to get covered?
Look, the bottom line is that the Republicans are trying to cut Medicaid for people who need it. And the work requirements, as we saw in Georgia, do you know how many people now are on Medicaid in Georgia after they put in similar work requirements? 5,000 out of 800,000 eligible. So this is a backdoor ruse to just kick people off Medicaid. Millions of people off Medicaid. Democrats are going to fight it all the way. Anyone else? All right, I'm going to say a word or two about our meeting a few minutes ago. First, I want to say that the Capitol Hill police have been silent heroes behind the scenes keeping members safe. But we are seeing a dramatic increase in threats against senators, congressmen, public officials, and throughout America. And these attacks are not just attacks on individuals, but on democracy, on our way of life, on what we believe in, and they're an attempt to intimidate people not to do their jobs, not to run for office. It's gross, it's disgusting. We must take immediate steps to ensure the safety of members, and that includes increased funding for the Capitol Police. And there was agreement in our meeting between Democrats and Republicans that we ought to have that increased funding. The Republicans are such hypocrites. Today, the Trump administration cut the AIMED program, AIMED. That's a program aimed to spot lone wolf actor violent people, violent extremists. Doesn't that sound exactly what like happened in Minnesota? And they're cutting it. It's outrageous. But that's what they do. The last top officials at this program that aims to spot the so-called lone actor, violent domestic extremists were reassigned. Reassigned. In the 4 months that Trump has took office, his administration has shrunk the Department of Homeland Security's Center for Prevention Programs and Partnerships, CP3, from dozens of analysts to fewer than 10 people. So here, with violence increasing, they are shrinking the number of law enforcement people aimed at trying to prevent that violence from ever occurring. Right now, we need to give our law enforcement more, not less. It's just totally hypocritical of this administration. The dangerous environment isn't spontaneous, however. It's being stoked, often deliberately, by reckless rhetoric coming from some of the most powerful voices in the country. When political opponents are treated like enemies, when leaders encourage the kind of protests that can lead to violence, it increases that violence. So it's the responsibility of all leaders, especially President Trump, to not just unequivocally condemn hatred, but to stop the violent and regressive language against political opponents. I'll tell you first way he could start. He should demand that Mike Lee takes down his disgusting tweet on X about the Minnesota shootings. I asked him to do it yesterday. Well, he wouldn't listen to me, but he'll listen to President Trump. We have to do more in every quarter, and we will. Thank you. Any other? Yep. Okay. And I want to thank our great volunteers. We believe in you, and as Abe Lincoln said, public sentiment is everything. Public sentiment will help us win this battle. So thank you all very, very much.
Thank you so much, Leader Schumer.
Like a picture on the podium? I was like, I'm really going to need all these photos.
Yeah.
I know.
You definitely are.